is wrong. Microphone switched over to the correct one now. Good thing that didn't go on for too long. Sound should be better now. As always, yep. Let's Civil Up. Civil Up's changed his avatar picture. Is there anything in there? No, didn't think so. Hello there, Bill Boss. These ones are a little bit trickier because they're a bit thinner than the back one, so they do like to tear sometimes, or they separate away from the adhesive. Either way, it's annoying no matter what. You gotta try hard not to pull too much on the adhesive, else it does tend to stretch. And then as soon as you can, jam it back down there. Now, it's a considerable waste of time and resources dealing with these damned laptops. Ah, great. I didn't get the adhesive strip. Come on. There we go. I'm pretty sure that's everything. Yep. Sad thing is, it's all got to be taken off again later. Anyway, so this thing does not seem to take power. I have checked the DC in pack and it seems to be fine. So I'm going to assume that it's something inside. Let's hope it's not too problematic getting it open. You got to be careful, because if you go too hard at it with these things, that's usually when you find out that there was a screw under the adhesive strip that you just completely missed. Oops, like that. No, I did not break off a screw. I just was lamenting about how easy it could be, though, to do that. Okay. So we'll take that battery out first. Save us doing anything too stupid today. Like what I just did then. Well, at least they're using a reasonable connector there, as opposed to those extraordinarily fine pinned pieces of junk that you often get in the Lenovo's. Let's see, I'm going to leave, nah, we'll take the data drive out. So it's 1462. no chance of not seeing that. Alright, so let's see. Nothing comes up. So we've either got some damage by the EC, maybe a damage. Well, it can't be the daughter board. I hate this. They put the damn connector. It's probably just the bad connector for all I know. This is going to be another one of those connector wasn't in properly situations. To be fair, that connector does seem to be okay. See what our continuity mode's like. Open circuit, according to that. 450 in the other way, fair enough. It is locked in, there's little shark's teeth just there and there, so that's definitely lined up. I'm just going to try and get this connector out. It's a real problem that they put them under the hinges for the screen. Stuff like that. It's just frustrating to deal with it. Hey there, Shad. You're gonna make me have to take the daughter board up too. And this is something that I find very frustrating with a lot of PC designs, is they tend to do this nesting thing where you've got to take out a billion things to get anywhere. Alright, looks like they're actually hooked in with little plastic latches that you've got to be careful not to break. Let's see if we've got any fatigue on these wires. Hey there, Tradie. That's interesting. That's been chopped. Weird. Doesn't seem to be any sort of notable break. I doubt it will happen, but we'll see if we get 19 volts when we plug it in. Hey, Tony W. So 19 volts present. (19 volts present). Alright, so the connector's all good. So let's turn our attention back to the board. I guess I may as well take it out. Jurgen. I confess I do tend to loathe and detest having to take these things out. So there's so many different traps that you don't see. Yankov? Alright, and weird stuff like we've got broad flat screws here and here that we've got little metal one, little silver metal ones are there and there. It's like, I don't know. I suppose realistically MacBooks have their fair share of different screws on them. I suppose really it's more just that I'm accustomed to their insanity. Okay, that's fine. Do not break the fan connector. Okay. Speaker connector. Maybe, just maybe. Yep, here it goes. Try another power supply. No, I haven't yet. I believe they already did try another one. And the fact that I'm getting 19 volts, it didn't show up. So I'm just going to go over the main board now. Have a look. See if we can find any blatant kablammy type fault. And if we can't find a blatant kablammy, we will start trying to justify not doing it. I'll have to find a board view and schematic, that's always fun. Do some begging down on bad caps. I'll give you the board number in a minute. What have we got? DAOP5 GMB 6GO. So DAOP5G. DAOP5G MB6GO. Alright, at least now that that's there, other people wanting to play along can do my hard work for me. I mean, we're not even getting the basic on-off. No, we're probably not getting 3v3. Yeah, let's check the other side. Very little on the other side, interestingly. Quite sparse. Hello. Yeah, what the frick? That looked a bit disgusting. That was a battery pool. Okay, that's way off the pad, but it is actually connected. I haven't searched for the board view or schematic yet. I just punched out what I was reading at that moment. Someone's eyelashes all over this. I wonder if it's something as simple as maybe say that. No, actually it wouldn't be the TVS because it would have showed up as short if it was. Hey Michael Tritz. Yeah, I was thinking maybe this protection diode might have given us something, but nope. It's a bit like with hard drives. They often if your hard drive just spontaneously stops working at all outright, it can often be, usually it's the 5-volt TVS diode that's popped its brains. A lot of the time when I get these laptops in with the completely dead behavior like this has got, it usually is some ceramic somewhere that's just given up. So we might put it under the gym cam and see if anything's pulsing. What the flippity flip? Yeah, people. Hello. What are you doing there, buddy? You're not even part of the circuit. You're just some random that happened to get picked. Just drive-by shooting. That one just got picked up somehow, somewhere. It doesn't belong anywhere. Just a random piece of crap on the assembly line that fell in. Hey there, Yamura. Tradie Trev found an AliExpress replacement, $561. Crikey, that's a little over the top. That little cap there, freeloader. Hello, Halliday. Welcome. Overall, the quality of the part reflowing is a little bit sus. You can see it everywhere. Yeah, they just haven't pulled into alignment. Like you're seeing this a lot on the board. It's kind of strange because it's like they cheated, they saved themselves some copper or something, and they didn't make the pads large enough. So these parts are actually a bit bigger than the pads of which they're being placed on. Now that's some shonkiness there. So for all we know, it's one of those parts, and it's finally given up and said, stuff this, I can't hold on to the pad anymore, and it's, walked off it. Well, I'm going to bring out the thermal cam. I have a horrible feeling it's not going to be a thermal cam situation. I have a horrible feeling instead it's going to be one of these damned resistors or caps that are not quite sitting right and that finally gave up. It's going to be a head in pillow situation, something like that. And that is a particularly difficult thing to find, because you can't find it with the heat, that's for sure. You just gotta go along and try every single damn part, give it a bit of a push and see if it rotates off. And even worse, it may not even actually rotate off, it might just simply be like a little bit of a surface contact. I guess the idea there is that if you push just hard enough, the part will slide across the pad rather than... Yeah. But yeah, that's some high quality dodginess there. Hey Prater. Yeah, it might be the Super IO though, it looks pretty good at the moment. Yeah, Yanimara, out at the factory like this. Anyway, let's stick this board back in. Now, the lights we're interested in are these two up here. It'd be funny if it fires up now. Actually, it wouldn't be funny, it'd be damned annoying. Oh, see, we're not getting anything coming up here. So, there you go. God damn it. That's annoying. So now we're getting charge behavior. That's very annoying. Let's see, HDMI, USB-C. It's probably not running though. Yeah, it's definitely not on. Crap. Let's see if it behaves when I put the battery pack on it. See if it comes up. And it's charging. Bloody hell. So this is going to be a problem. We've basically got an intermittent situation. Let's see. Seems like the ON/OFF button is this one here. I don't know if I pushed any caps. I was pushing resistors. None of them resisted me. Wait, what the? Yeah. It's very annoying when things work without you having applied the appropriate level of repair. It's like it's too early for you to be working. Stop it. Okay, so we have the on-off button there. Nothing coming up yet. Might be just a little bit too low in charge. Although usually they will give some indication. Anyway. It's probably the daughter board. Nope, that's charging. Okay, that's booting. Son of a bitch. The only thing is, it's surprisingly dim. Oh, mind you, I am looking at the wrong side. See if we get a green light coming up on the USB though. Nothing yet. Prater, it is booting, it's turned on, see? So you won't get those on. I pressed the button and it turned on. That's the problem. But it's not really coming up. CPU is running. Hey there, Dedumbras. Interesting, CPU is running, but I'm not getting any USB activity. Even if it's stuck on the BIOS screen, it should be giving me periodic flicks of this. Well, it definitely runs and holds, so there's nothing wrong with the power system. La, 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 la. Freaking annoying. So I strongly suspect it's something intermittent, because it certainly was not working prior to doing any of this video. Crap. Nope. Definitely no activity there. Alright. Let's put it partially back in there. Certainly the CPU's getting warm, so maybe something's holding it in. Reset or something. Have a look at this daughter board a bit more. The thing is, even if it does come back with a BIOS reset or something like that, it doesn't solve the original problem, which is that it was certainly not working. Come back here. It periodically is failing. The customers, because they were supposed to bring it back, they were supposed to bring it here quite some time ago, but it started working again. And then obviously it failed again, and they brought it to me. And when it was here, it was definitely dead. Now I have started working on it, on YouTube no less, and naturally it works again. So yeah, we've got an intermittent fault here. Possibly the worst kind of thing to have. Now, it could be something as dead simple as the fact that the power connector simply just wasn't in there enough, or it could be something more complicated, like one of those flippin' resistors that do not have the correct solder pads. And the worst thing is, unless you can find a definitive fault, you know it's going to come back. Like, even if I run this for a week or 2 weeks on the workbench and it doesn't fail, it just keeps running, you know that if I charge for this job and send it back, that within, you know what, it depends. It's a choice between it will almost instantly not work, or it will work for long enough that I forget about it, as in, it lulls me into a false sense of, I must have finally solved that problem. And then once I'm in that state of happiness, it will then re-emerge. And of course, it will make sure it does that at a time that is most inconvenient for the customer. It'll be like, maybe they were busy doing their, what do you call it? a final revision of their thesis for their PhD or something, and the laptop goes, blah, I'm dead. And so they'll be very angry at me at that time. And yeah, it's just the way the universe likes to play tricks. Of course, in fairness, in these sort of scenarios, I usually tell the person, bin the laptop, get another one, because this one's going to cost you in ways, in more ways than what money is worth. I'll get around to connecting display only later. What I'm going to try is a full reconnect to see if it exhibits the same behavior issue. If it does, then I'll wind back the items. You can of course start with just the display and go forward. I like to sometimes start with everything and go backwards. Doesn't really matter. It's just pick and choose whichever way you want to go. Daniel, now I checked the AC adapter. That's one of the first things I usually check to see if they have tripped out, anything like that, and it was perfectly fine. It was giving me a proper 19 volts. There was no dramas with that. Yeah, Chody, it's just easier to move to a new machine. I mean, yeah, okay, the machines can cost a bit, but then, you know, what's the cost of it failing on you at an inopportune moment? That's what you got to always weigh up. There we go. One screw should do the trick. Hey, Defbomb. Yeah, Defbomb, that's right. It's still annoying though. Particularly when you basically face that choice of, do you charge them and warn them, or do you not charge them and hope that they're honest enough to come back and say, you know what, this thing's fixed, I ought to pay you. I will confess that for the most part I actually defer to the latter. I just don't charge them, send it back to them, and I assume it's just a lost job. Okay, we do have charge current coming up. Yeah, it turns on. No, Tony, all the cables are pretty good to me. Nope, which light that one is. See, the light I have at the moment is what? Yeah, it's the top one that I can see is illuminated is for power good. The one beneath it is for disk access. Yeah, we got nothing there. So something is inhibiting it. Flipped if I know what it is. I wonder if it's... No, it can't really be the on-off button. The reason why I don't think it's the on-off button is because I can use the on-off button to, successfully turn it on and off. I wasn't seeing any blink codes or hearing any blink codes, but I'll double check. Power is on. There. There's got no blink codes. Nothing's blinking on the side. Nothing's blinking on this side. That's just showing it's charging. This one's showing it's got power good. It's a touch ID sensor. Yeah, there's no blink codes. There's no beep codes. There's nothing. Is it set to use external monitor? Well, the problem is that there's not even any drive activity. That's the other issue. So there's a second LED here that tells me that there's drive activity. That's not even going. It's just sitting there stuck before it's even getting into post. Like if it was a bad screen issue, we would see the second LED here blinking. We would also see USB activity on this thing, but we're not. What have we got, Paul? What have we got? And the CPU is definitely getting warm. So we've got power to that. It could actually be shorted, dead CPU. But it doesn't seem to be anything peripheral related. It could be a bad RAM. That's actually one of the more reasonable suggestions being made here. Although normally you get a audible beep code on that sort of thing. If the battery was in a protection mode, then we shouldn't get this power good situation here. That's not power good from the AC, that is meaning power good as in the board is turned on. The charge and AC good is all handled on this side through the actual little connector itself. Anyway, battery's connected, whatever. What are you? DDR what? DDR4, 8 gigs. The reason why I'm disinclined to think it's the BIOS is the fact that the customer has had it work and then not work, work and not work. Whereas if it's a BIOS failure, typically it just stops working at the end. So I'd be more inclined to think it was the RAM. Look what Dita said. Hey Paul. Sorry, shit. Hey dog. Who's Dita? I don't see a Dita. Anyway, so that's not coming up either. Didumros. Again, usually with RAM failure, you get a nice little 3 beep complaint. Anyway, pop that out. Let's see if I've got a DDR4 somewhere. Would have thought I would have somewhere. Out there, or I've got to steal it from somebody. It wouldn't be the first time. And you are... well, yeah, 8 gigs, but I don't know if you're DDR4, but I think you are. Yanko, we did the test with absolutely nothing connected and it still did the same. Tradie Trev, the trouble is we can not even get into the boot test, but yeah, otherwise memtest 86 is a good testing system. I actually do use that a lot. And of course this one does not have a CMOS battery as such. Aha, that's not the same RAM. Someone's got DDR3 there. Crap on a cracker. Knew it was too good to be true for that to be... I could have sworn I had DDR4 floating around. Not you. But like I said, the real problem is the fact that oh man, Yeah, it doesn't even complain with the RAM missing. Seriously, you're gonna tell me I don't have a DDR4 around here? I'm on. You can do better than that, Paul. Sodium 3. Kind of hoping I might have slipped a 4 in here. Probably not. Hey, Catherine. Anyway, for those arriving in the chat, this initially had been tested with absolutely nothing connected, and so therefore suggesting to disconnect anything really doesn't help because we've already tried it with nothing connected. Okay, 3, 3, 3. You know what? These are easier if you just... It'd be easier if I had them all the other way up so I could actually see what the keying is like, because the keying is very different between 3 and 4. Like it's wider for a start. Hey, Andre. Yeah, I probably should throw out a lot of these. Most of these are pretty useless ones. Yeah, they're not very big or they're faulty. That's often a good reason not to keep them. What are RAM chips there though? Probably could use something else. Nah, I'm pretty sure there's no 4s in that lot. Just the width alone, it would stick out if it was a 4. No. Okay, I'm gonna go check in my other room. There may be a laptop there with a stick of 4 in there. I'll try the other slot just as a pie in the sky attempt. Honestly, there's no way Travis could be blocked in the moment because I went along and I unblocked everyone. I took my entire YouTube list and removed it. I removed the entire block list. So there is absolutely nobody being blocked at this point. Hey there, Patrick. Good evening. Yeah, absolutely nobody being blocked currently, which means some of my old smooth brain foes may appear. I'm gonna go check that the laptop in another room in the off chance I get lucky. So sorry, my love. Forgot that the window was open. So sorry about that. Well, there's a bit of fun with the doors around here because you need a fair amount of force to close them, and so you tend to sort of subconsciously swing them back at a known force to deal with the internal pressure. And then every now and then you leave a window open and you use that same level of pressure and it slams the door quite aggressively. We'll have a look, see if it's energizing the screen. It's got that nice green tinge on it right now. It's hard to say. I think it's, yeah, it's sort of switching back and forth. Yeah. It's switching back and forth. It's like screen on, screen off, screen on, screen off. "3x, did you not hear my comment earlier? We did all that." I know you want the display on, but the thing is, we're not even getting CPU activity. Unfortunately, we kind of need that one to get the on-off button because it doesn't auto turn on. And Yanko, the trouble I have with the idea that it might be the BIOS is the fact that it was working and then it stopped and then it was working again. So typically, yeah, that's my 1030 call. Typically, if it comes back like that, it tends not to be a BIOS programming issue. It tends to be something else. Now, I'm not completely discounting it, but I'm just saying that I'm not going to go through the process of doing anything with the BIOS at this point until I can rule out other issues. Because otherwise, it's just a big flippin' waste of time. So I'm going to try something else. Hey, boss. Okay, I'm getting fan spin now. Fan spins for a bit, then stops. Fan spins and stops. Fan spins and stops. Okay, so alright. I am actually gonna, I'll go deal with micro and I'll come back. we're back. I don't always come back. Most times I come back, but not always. Hey, user. Richard. Alrighty. What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, So we've got a situation where it's trying to boot or get started and then it collapses. Tries again, collapses. Now that could be a short on a subsequent rail, although it's interesting that the CPU gets hot, because usually you don't get the CPU getting hot until sort of everything else is up and running. You know, it's not something that is fired up earlier than most rails. So I'm going to take the board out again anyway. And we'll just see if the camera gives us a heartbeat somewhere. Hey there, Toby. Hey, John. I have a feeling we won't get a heartbeat, but it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. It's an easy thing to eliminate. Yeah, why not? Does it have a separate power board? No, it doesn't. It's just a normal power brick, and that's it. There's no other power board on this thing. If you check the CPU rails, consistent. I haven't checked. Yeah. Hey, creature. You come here to annoy me too. Why did I put the 2 screws for this thing back in? Honestly, why? It seems like a daft thing to do. Okay. The other problem we're going to have with the thermal camera, of course, is that the CPU is going to be dominating. But we'll see. Let's see how it goes. Well, it must be drawing current because we are getting heat. Seems reasonable. Unfortunately, I do not have a current meter for this particular brick. So we can't exactly tell for sure how much current we're drawing. No, I haven't flashed the BIOS yet. Like I said, it's going to be, that's much further down on the list of the things I might try. If Pilnov was here, he'd tell you how much I dislike messing with BIOSes. Mostly because a lot of the time I feel like people attack the BIOS first before eliminating everything else, and quite often they screw it up. And then you got another problem to deal with afterwards. It could be the brick collapsing under load, although it was doing it with the battery. Yeah, here we go. It's getting all excited. Naturally, of course, we've got reflections playing silly buggers with us. I just might expand the spread of the thermal image. There we go. Oh yeah, I just realised I got to turn it on. Ha! Yeah, that helps. Okay, so CPU area VREGs fire up. Seems to me it could be a crapped in the pants CPU. Oh, now I've got USB activity. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, see that middle one that was just blinking? That means it's up and running. So yeah, whatever it is, it's intermittent and it seems to be somewhat sensitive to touch. Like you move it around and it changes its behavior. And like that matches what the customer was saying in the fact that it would work. They would, tap and knock it around a little bit, and sorry, it would stop working. They'd tap and knock it around a little bit. It'd start working again. So I would, like I said, most likely put money that it's one of those components that has a bad pad on it. When I say bad pad, I mean it's insufficient solder or the wrong pad alignment, all that sort of stuff. And as a consequence, it's now just barely making contact. It's like a head and pillow situation. It perhaps didn't quite, flow properly. And so it's more of just a surface contact rather than a mingling of the, mingling of the actual solder alloys. I'm going to leave that as the touch button. I'll leave that off and leave the audio board off as well. Plug the fan back in. Just kind of curious to see if we can have it so it runs up and at least we know, okay, yeah, this thing definitely is booting before it stops booting again. An ITB job. Now I'm going to presume that stands for in the bin, because if it is in the bin that you're suggesting, then I concur. Yeah, creature, we did remove the RAM. We swapped the RAM slots and things like that. Your fault for not being here earlier, so now I've got to berate you for making dumb suggestions. I'm gonna put that, see if I can. Yeah, I've got blinking. Yeah, okay. See, we've actually got a display now. Okay, so understandably it's going to come up with the BIOS screen, like, the battery's been disconnected, whatever bullshit. But the point is that wasn't coming up before. So like that. Did that just die? That just died. Yeah, we have got a flaky joint somewhere. We've got a flaky joint somewhere. Oop, there we go. Now it's actually booting to the customer's stuff. Yeah, flaky joint. That's my guess. Chuck it in the reflow oven. Sounds like a good idea. For those who weren't here earlier, I will show you why I think it's a flaky joint somewhere. Believe me, it's a very reasonable assumption based on what you're going to see. The problem's going to be, which damned one is it? Steve, it may or it may not, simply because of the fact that it's physical issue on the board. Or at least it seems like that to me, based on the symptoms, what we've just experienced, the fact that now it's coming up, even though it wasn't before, and we tried a million other things before. But yeah. So I'll demonstrate to you why this is likely a flaky join. Where's a good one? Okay, here we go. Okay, ignoring the fact that that cap there is not even meant to be there, it's just a random pickup. If you look at these resistor pads on the pads, see that the profile that they've used for the resistors does not match correctly what is required to actually hold those resistors. It's too small. It's kind of like, what are these? These look like, it's kind of like, these are 402s or some kind of, they're actually a higher aspect than I would expect. And they were meant for 201s or something, I don't know. But actually it can't really be, either way, the resistors are too big for those pads. And this is all over the board, and that is why I'm thinking it's going to be one of these little bastards that's just going to, I'm just going to push it on the side and it's going to spin free. And the question is, which one of the little bastards is it? Because that's basically what it comes down to. But yeah, it's the wrong resistors, or rather the wrong pads for the resistors. Depends which came first, resistors or the pads. Daniel, that's a free cap. That's a spare cap, so that if you're driving along with your laptop and one of your caps blow out, then you can use that spare cap. Now, I've encountered boards with this sort of surface dud contact situation before, but nothing this bad. So like that there is how it should be. The pad should extend beyond the outer limits of the component itself, and that allows you to get this nice fillet going on between the solder and the part and the trace. Not this BS that HP have decided to go for here. HP themselves probably have no idea that this has even happened. They don't control the manufacturing process. They just get someone else to do it and they put their name on it and they're happy. So yeah, it's a case of I'm going to have to go through, I don't know, what is there, 700-800 resistors on this bastard. Most likely not here, that's HDMI. We can sort of eliminate some areas simply based on the activity that it's used for. So I probably should start at the power end. Although we are getting power, we're just not getting a boot, so yeah. So yeah, when people mock Apple for bad quality or everything, it tells me that they actually probably need a little bit more exposure to the real crap that goes on in PC laptops. Because yeah, Apple makes some pretty shit decisions with their designs every now and then. I mean, we all do as designers. We will tend to think we know what we're doing when we're spinning the board, and then we get the board and we go, oops, that's a fuck up. But overall, most of Apple's problems tend to be more things like butterfly keyboard crap or bad GPU cooling crap, that sort of, or just bad GPU, or say like the 1534, that's a bad Intel chip. I mean, okay, maybe Apple could have cooled it a bit more, but I don't think so. I think it's basically the A1534 suffered the same kind of fate that the 2011 GPUs suffered, from my understanding. It gets tempting sometimes to think, oh yeah, it just needs a bit more push, but I don't think it is that. I should take this heatsink off too. So this is, I would prefer to bin this, absolutely. And yeah, I think these pads were meant for 201s. But I'm going to guess that there was a shortage of 201s and they were needed to get the damn things out. And so they figured, you know what, 402s are going to just sit on that, so we'll use 402s. Jeez, you know. Definitely not what I would have opted for. That's the sort of thing that you could probably get away and pull a class action on if you want to get a check for 87 cents. Meanwhile, the lawyers get a few million. So yeah, if you want to support a lawyer, engage in a class action. You're sure as hell not going to make any money for yourself with class actions. Unless you're a lawyer. Good reason to become a lawyer. Crocodile, I think the problem here is that it's a signal line as opposed to a power line. Hello, Bummerhot. Had an issue with my Ford auto cable a few days ago and was looking through how to get it fixed, and you found my screwdriver, Ford Falcon auto fix. Yeah, you know, that screwdriver is still sitting in the car. It's still in the gearbox cable assembly. The car is old to the point where now I think I'm just going to take it to wherever I'm going to take it when I sell it, so I've got money for my Tesla, and then I'll take the screwdriver out and that'll be the end of it. I'm going to take the heatsink off because there's a few parts underneath that. I've actually got the bushing. It seems to be the same one for the either end of the cable, but it's just such a schlep to rip out the whole console, the center console and everything else. It does the job for now. I'm just going to leave it be. Hey Dratchen, the only reason I'm doing it is because, well, I guess I'm doing it because I'm doing it. It's on YouTube, so of course I've got to do it. Hey there, PR. The other way you can sometimes find these is if you use if you use the hot air. And what you do is you go along, as long as the board's in a non-working state, and you go along and you hot air just areas, and that hot air will change the, it will make the parts shift around a little bit. That's how I found them in the past with some other boards that I didn't have board. Oop, someone's got a leaky compressor. I've probably already touched the one that's faulty, and it's probably going to make it work now for another 6 months. resistors, are there? We're assuming it's a resistor simply because of the dodginess there, but it's not to say it's not a connector of some sort either. But most likely one of those resistors, based on the fact that they are the ones that are incorrectly placed. I can't imagine it'd be on the HDMI port, but who knows? This is kind of like watching Phil do the APU rebuilds. Creature, crap, damn it, man! Which one did I move? I think it might have just been. Where was I? I'll give Creature a chance to try and tell me where I was. There was one Okay, I will sit here and wait for you, Creature. Maybe you can email or message me a screenshot. So we are now standing by for Creature to come back with telling me what it was that he thought I moved. Gmail it to me, Creature. Hey, Anonymous. To be fair, Daniel, that compressor almost rarely kicks out, but like that, or kicks in rather. But probably once a week I hear it do that. Okay, Bumhut. Good luck with the cable too, getting it replaced. It'll be interesting to see if anybody ends up replacing the bushing, or whether we all just end up with screwdrivers in our center console. Plasma, I hope you're being sarcastic there, because this is certainly not. V-Blood, the problem is I've pretty much tested almost all of them now, so they'd all be marked. Defcom, that's also a possibility. One of the inductors been having a crack in them. Oh, Daniel, that's bad. 5 minutes, yeah, okay, yeah, that's bad. How big is yours, though? Because mine's just one of those little 3-litre airbrushing compressors. Do you ever test from memory to data? No, I don't, no. I don't invest in that sort of equipment, to be honest. I find a lot of the time that equipment, unless you're working on the same board or same sort of thing every day, it's just wasted money. I mean, obviously for MacBooks, sure, I'll invest stuff for MacBooks, but even then, I'm quite limited on what I do. Like, there is I think, what is it? One of those union repair supported firms, Rewire or something like that. Yeah, they've got a whole testing bit of doodad for MacBooks to tell you what the fault is or something like that, and it's just not worth it. Okay, Creature, no worries. We will proceed with what we were doing. Thank you very much, jerk. That's okay. I'm being funny, I think. Waiting for a cordless Midas order to arrive. Oh, Andrew, yeah, those things are great. Which one are you getting? I need to get myself I'm thinking of getting... There's a new Makita one out. Well, it's not that new. But I'm thinking it's worth getting. Compound one. Hey, repair it all. Yeah, John, a lot of those caps do. Mind you, typically once they go, they go. Yeah, they don't tend to come back. So like that there, that's just a bit of junk and flux. It's nothing on that one. The Makita DLS 110Z. I think that's actually the one that I'm thinking of. I've got to Google that now. Yeah, yeah, I can't remember, but it's one of those ones, Andrew. I've got to get around to justifying it to myself sometime. I can be fairly sure that this whole section is working fine because it did seem to produce a nice clean thermal image. Yeah, Daniel, they're good enough for the work we do. Like I use mine mostly for clearing the residual liquid after the ultrasonic wash. Got to get it out from underneath that, what do you call it, underneath the BGA parts. I find if you don't do that, you end up with a number of boards that won't post because there's junk under the CPU or the PCH, and as a consequence, you got to wait another day or two for it to dry, or put it through another drying cycle. Like I dry mine at 120 for 20 minutes, but without that air compressor to blow out the excess from underneath, it even still will fail. I don't know if it was burnt cap. So this is where I was. I don't see any burnt caps. I do have the distinct advantage of getting the full visual spectrum here, and you're talking about this thing here. Yeah, that's just a normal sort of tarnish. What's wrong with the board? We have an intermittent issue whereby it will show up with power and you press the on-off button and it sort of starts and it manages to fire the display up, as in it activates the display. You can see it energize. It goes darker, but then it restarts and it keeps doing that. But if you move things around a little bit, it may come good. But if you move it again, it doesn't. And it won't do CPU activity, but it will get the CPU warm. So it's kind of like there's something inhibiting it. I'm not entirely sure what. The fact that it doesn't give me CPU activity is a weird thing. I wonder what the lid sensor is like on this. Where does the lid sensor come from? Where's the hall sensor for this? I'm not sure if it thinks that the lid is on, it will inhibit the CPU, but it's worth checking. Yeah, where the hell's the lid sensor on this one? They obviously don't make it obvious like with the MacBooks. It'll be somewhere in the display, obviously. Might be on the daughter board, but I doubt it. Glenn, it's very unlikely to be the BIOS chip because we have had it here on display intermittently come good and then come bad as we move it around. Whereas if it was BIOS, it would be permanently consistent or very consistent, and it's not. Disinclined to think it's a corrupt BIOS. Particularly that little boot. We had it booting all the way to the customer display, customer boot screen. But then if I move the circuit board around, it craps out again. I've only seen one BIOS chip on this so far. I'm just trying to see if I can find a hall sensor. That I would almost be inclined to think is a hall sensor, but I think I'm just going to have to tell the customer it's intermittent, buy a new machine. But the dodginess of the fact that they put 402 resistors on what should be 201 pads, that's really shonky. Actually, you know, they might be technically sold as the right size resistor, but I have noticed that some manufacturers will kind of push the limits on things like 402, 603, 201, particularly with the capacitors. Mag is in the bottom left of the screen. If it's in the bottom left of the screen, it would be over this daughter board here, so that would make me think that that possibly is the hall sensor. God damn it! I need the schematic at least for this. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so we need the schematic for this DLO P5 GMB 6GO. HP DLO P5G MB6 Geo. See, there's some BIOS dumps and that's about it. Schematic. That's a belief. Oh, there is a board view. Oh no, it's not. Oh, where is it? Yeah, R52. No, it's not the same one. Bastard. Okay, Defum. Let you know if we have any luck with this. It could also be a BGA chip, yes. The whole, what do you call it? The whole bad resistor thing could just simply be a red herring. Yeah, I'm not finding a schematic coming up for this one. Well, even if it's a 0 or a naught, a letter O, Google tends to work its way out of that anyway. No, but I'm not finding anything remotely close to this. Maybe it's just too new. Nee Afrikaans. Ag nee Afrikaans praat nie. Using a genuine power brick. Yeah, it's a genuine power brick. It doesn't seem to be power brick related. I mean, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe I'm just really chasing up the wrong tree here. It's 45 watt. I guess I've got another one of these. I've got so many of those particular ones. They're the very long, fine pitch HP blue tip ones. Ooh, that was loud. Okay, where are you guys? Not you. There we go, you. Yeah, trouble. This one's actually a lower wattage, but anyway. reason why I don't think it's the power brick is because it was doing this even with a charged battery. You know, kind of strong. I just realised there's resistors on the back here, so we'll have a bit of a tap and push of the resistors that we find down here too. Like, look at that sucker. Oh, that was the first one we actually noticed it on. I'm really hoping that I'm going to just push one of these and it's going to spin right off and I'll be like, haha, we found the problem. But I'm not sure I'm going to be that blessed on a live stream. But just the way they've done it, it's just begging for it to be the culprit. But of course it's not going to do it for me. So I'm suspecting it's going to be somewhere where the board's got a lot of thermal mass, and maybe during the reflow process it didn't quite get up to temperature. That happens a fair bit when they're rushing the boards through. They shouldn't, but they do. So not everywhere on the board gets its full up to temperature. Bad solder joint on the RAM. Oh well, we'll have a look. First I've got to test all these resistors. Like I said, it could be all for nothing, but the fact that they went this shonky route and the nature of it being intermittent like that, I mean, look how far off that one is. And that one. Now the problem is that they basically, the supply of resistors did not match the way they did the pads. And like I said, I'm not sure who's to blame. Maybe there's no one to blame. It's just a supply issue. But normally, when you choose your pads for your passives, or anything for that matter, you do tend to have a little bit of a excess area just to compensate for variances. So these guys said, to hell with that. Boss says we've got to save money on solder, so we're going to go with really tiny pads. Disinclined to think it's that's USB-C, so it's not really playing a part in what we're dealing with. We're after something that's going to have the ability to inhibit the CPU Like it runs, the CPU is running, but or at least it's taking power, but the clock doesn't run. Volt should still give you lights, charger, etc. That is true, and typically it will give you a bit of a kick in the head with the beeping. Like I said, we do get the lights, but the other problem is that we changed the RAM slot and it was okay. Anyway, let's yeah, these are two-sided bastards. The other thing is we tried the other slot and we didn't have any trouble with we had the same thing with the other slot. Yeah, most of these are all looking good. I mean, agreeably, some machines will only work with a specific slot for their primary, so you can't just switch the RAM into another slot. None of those are looking problematic. And usually it's pretty obvious when you get a dud RAM one. Usually if it's like a head and pillow fault. Yeah, so far nothing there. They're all looking good. Like that there, initially you'd think, okay, it could be faulted because, there's no fillet going up into it, but you can see the fillet is formed around the back of it anyway. A pin that is not connected to the solder properly generally stands out pretty damn well. Yeah, it's what do they say? It's like yeah, dog balls. I said a lot of these you sort of think, oh, that's it, but it's not. They're just part of it's the fault of lead-free solder. Part of it's just the assembly people cutting down the solder as much as they can. It's a bit of a trick trying to get the right balance with the amount of paste you put onto these pads, because if you put too much they'll bridge quite frequently. So that almost felt like one, but again the back of it is soldered, so not inclined to think that's at fault. And you see I can do the same movement because obviously the pad itself has a certain degree of flex in it. But yeah, and if I'm pretty sure I'm moving the pad there. You gotta be careful, you're not ripping the pads off. Hey Prolux, yeah, I was talking about that technique earlier. See if I can localize it using hot air tricks. And that's also connected, yeah. And it could be something like, say, the iPhone, not iPhone, the iMac, MacBook A1398, 820, 332 boards where they will, the VREG chip has to be resoldered because the solder join's a bit dodgy. Could be so many things, and this is not an easy thing to find. Like I said, I was really hoping it'd be one of those stupid resistors, because at least when you put the pressure on it and it swivels off, it's like, yeah, that's blatantly obvious that that's going to be the fault. But they're all, in spite of looking terrible, they are actually all attached. So I may have to just write this one off. I mean, yeah, is it fixable? Quite likely. Should I be fixing it? Quite likely not, because it's not business savvy. Now, there might be someone else out there who, say, has a lot of time on their hands and doesn't mind the wild goose chase, and they can handle it. It's just the way it goes. Yeah, it's not that you're not capable of potentially finding it, it's just a case of you don't want to waste your time doing it, because it's sucking up your time that you could be busy doing other things. Like right now, I should be doing more voltage sequences for MacBooks. Yeah, the spare component is not. No, that flying capacitor is doing absolutely nothing other than being a fine representative of how badly the board was done. The other thing you can do is you just stick a spacer under the board, crank the board down, and just let the twisting pressure of the fact that you've got a spacer under there keep the board alive for a little bit longer. Yeah, Miles, exactly. The hell's no is the answer. Yeah, we did the gym cam, and that's how we actually came around to realising the damn thing was booting again. Let's see. It doesn't look like there's any signs of it being dropped, to be honest. No chafing on the corners. So I'd say that's a no. Honestly, there is so much thermal paste on that. I'm actually going to be able to get away with putting that back down, giving it a bit of a squeezing like that, and it'll be right, mate. Because of the fact that I'm going to be telling the customer that we just moved to a new machine. They're going to be like, it cost me $1,500, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but you can either take it to another technician who will probably ultimately end up with the same response, or they may get lucky and find it. That's the other thing, is sometimes just going to another technician can result in a magical fix simply because they happen to land on it exactly the right place at the right time. It's not happening tonight, so you got to learn to not be ashamed of that. You got to understand that you're trying to run a business. You're not being paid by anybody else, and you just got to walk away from some jobs. And sadly, well, I shouldn't say sadly, but frequently, for me, it's PC jobs. So I used to do them quite a lot. It started to get a little bit too much, how frequently that you would not be able to end up fixing them. And it's easy to get suckered into. It's like people go, "Oh, just spend a little bit more time on it. You'll get it. You'll get it. It's you're almost there." And it's like, that's a that kind of attitude ends up losing you a lot of money, unfortunately. You need to be a little bit more strict. Set your wall clock time. Say, you know what? If I can't fix it in this time, I'll just hand it to someone else. Hey, Steve K. Steve W.S., the sunken cost fallacy. The fact that you've already spent 6 hours on it means you should spend another hour. And then the fact that you spent 7 hours on it means you should spend another hour. You could fix it for 1,500. Oh, yeah? Sounds good. I'll send it off to you, yeah. Now, you're going to be replacing it with the... You're going to be fixing the board, right? Not replacing the board. Huh? Yeah, replacing boards. That's the Apple style. Hey, Greg. Yes, we do all get these faults. As it'd been nice if you had the time and not the financial pressure to just, go in for the very interesting journey. It might take you a few days, a few weeks, and then you get that tremendous rush at the end when you actually do fix it. But of course, if you're doing it for a business, then no, it's not a good idea. Okie doke. Let's try and remember how to put this thing back together. Is that the RAM in it? Yes, it is. I took out my RAM and I put the HP RAM back in. So this one's mine. Which, whatever. And this one here, you can see it's got a HP replacement code on it. Mine does not. So that's how I know it's theirs and not mine. Don't long screw it. I'll certainly try not to. I'll just be in and out quickly with it. Hey there, Paul. What I'll say to the customer also is if they want, I can just take their drive and get the data off it. So what is this? 512 gigs, crikey. I gotta admit, I am a little bit nervous at just how dense that data storage is these days. Alright, here's the trick one. These bastards. I have a feeling I have actually got the wrong ones there. Two long silver coloured ones go into these holes here, and then one in there. And then these, no. I just can't remember if it was that one or that one. I don't actually think it matters. From a mechanical engineering perspective, it really shouldn't matter that much. You've got a very small difference in moment length there. The worst case scenario you may have here, instead of here, is that well, no, actually this would be the bigger problem. You'd sooner get pulled out there than you would there. I did very much enjoy doing mechanical engineering at university. It wasn't my primary, what I was primarily studying, but it was a good sort of, it's a good engineering to have in your repertoire. Chemical engineering, not so much. At least for me. For other people, maybe, if like you're into, making explosives or anything like that, probably a good thing. Or if your name's Cody. But yeah, for me, mechanical engineering was the fun one. Things like statics and dynamics. Yeah, we're done with this. Sorry, folks. I know, we all wanted a better outcome, but we are done. So, did you try looking for long screw damage? I can't imagine there would be any because none of the screws actually go through to the board. Miles, I actually didn't do much in the electrical engineering side of things. Mostly because I was doing electronics engineering and then computer systems engineering, and then after that I was doing computer science. So yeah, I kind of ran out of steam before I could do anything more crazy. Okay, this is the part where I think I realise I have got the wrong kind of screws in places. This one here is the one that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Where the hell did you come from? Or maybe you actually meant for that. Let's see what length this screw is. Oh, okay. My bad. It was actually meant to be 2 there. There we go. Solved. Let's see, Jim Allen, your father-in-law is a chemical engineer. Ah, yeah, it's... inorganic chemistry isn't too bad, but organic chemistry, holy sweet mother of... I don't know how organic chemistry people do it, honestly. It's just crazy. I'm tipping my hat off to those people. That and biologists, you know, anyone that's dealing with the whole messy spectrum of life or carbon-based stuff. Yeah, it's just my big fat hats off to those people, honestly. Fantastic stuff they do. Did you check the fan? Yeah, the fan was fine. No problems whatsoever there. Metal organic chemistry. That's just... why do they have to keep knocking it up a notch? Is it not enough that I'm already feeling inferior? And the fact that I feel like I've got too many screws in my life here? Yeah, I've definitely got too many screws here. Where'd you bastards come from? Yep, that's coming off again. You're getting outflow. Well, the thing is, it was doing it even with the fan spinning, and I guess what I'm saying is that it didn't even get to the point where it could be warm enough to cause that sort of misbehavior. Okay, so we've got a 2.5 by 6, 2 by 6, 2.5 by 6. So I'm going to guess these are actually meant for in here, like so. Yep, they are. That's fine. So we've got this one here, which is the... so that's fine. But the trouble is, that leaves me with, yeah, a couple too many screws. Literal couple too many screws. Okay. I've gone and effed up somewhere. Forgotten something. So, pop it open again, do it right. Hey Barry West, you're a zoologist with a minor in microbiology. So that sort of stuff, it's just... And people working out the biochemistry processes involved in metabolizing things, or just going through that stuff. It's just bonkers. And the people go, oh yes, we just see that go through the ATP phase and then being processed by this, and then the oxidase gets consumed by this, and it's like, that's it, I'm out, you guys are too smart for me. I'm going to go over here to the idiots on the bleachers in the engineering department where we can just play with rocks and steel. It's easier for us. Thank you for playing. Yeah. So, there's a couple here that... Okay, maybe it was those two. It seems a little weird that both battery... There's already a good number on the battery. I mean, it fits, sure. But I could have sworn there was less on the battery. Battery. Especially too that I think that the front... I'm fairly sure that one there is handled... Okay. That one is handled by under the strip. Not sure about that one. That one definitely will be, and that one definitely will be. And there's only 3 at the front, so... Guess it's that one. Just seems a little bit weird to me. It says, I read a line in the book once. I prefer the yes, no of engineering to the maybe of medicine. That pretty much is it, yeah. No, the lamb, that there is my test stick. This one here is the customer's stick. But thanks for checking. But yeah, in this case, we're all clear. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was matching up before with the rubbers. See, there's only... Pretty sure there's only the 3 under here. Yeah, so that, and then one at the end. And we're all good now. My apologies. HP just threw me a bit by the fact that they use these black screws for their final hinge pull down. The black ones are 2.5mm diameter, the silver ones are 2. Thank you, Catherine. Well, Miles, it is a HP. It's not a MacBook, so still. That said, the new MacBooks, of course, do have them. But that said, the very new MacBooks are not my friends right now. I gotta admit, for years I wanted back the SD slot and the HDMI port and all that sort of stuff, but now that they've got them back, I'm like, you know what, this actually sucks. Let's go back to just plain USB-C. Part of that, though, is because of the fact of the way we've changed the way we use things a bit. So we've got a lot more in terms of we've got better internet now, wireless connectivity, always on connectivity, and so it's changed the very nature in which we move and collect and move data around. Of course, the SD card is still needed for bulk transfers of cameras and things like that. But really, even with the cameras now, we have a lot of high-speed wireless. So I feel it's sort of like there's been a bit of a crossover in terms of timelines. And I feel like we are actually now getting towards the point where we really don't need anything but USB-C. The NUCs don't have audio ports anymore. Oh, the new ones, I guess, yeah. I was going to say, the ones I installed usually do, but the new ones probably don't. Ugh, these strips are terrible. So 90% of the clips don't even clip in when you found, Let me guess, the son of a gun's not working now. Yep. Yeah, we're charging, but we're not, once again, we're not booting. So look, it's some kind of mechanically related intermittent fault, and that's it. We've already spent, let's see, how long's the stream been going for? 2 hours on this, okay? So now at my normal rates, that's a fair bit. And now it's saying CMOS invalid. Okay, reboot the system. Yeah, it's like 270. Yeah, $270 odd. Probably moving up to 290 now with all the inflation. It's booting to Windows now. Yep, back to Windows. Yeah, well, we'll call this a waste of time. Certainly not a fix, that's for flippin' sure. But I'll advise the customer cannot fix it with a degree of reliability, so henceforth move to something that you've got more chance with. Okay, this one's mine, doesn't matter. Hey Andrew, good, the miter saw, now you can go cut something. Now, let's see. Oh, I just wanted to show you something that I was working on. This is actually Tim Herman's work that I'm working on here. Okay, so we've got a 1932 machine here, and this one, what's the problem with this? Oh, that's right, it sort of starts up, it gets, funnily enough, it's not too dissimilar to the machine we just fixed. It will start up for a bit, and then I'll shut down, but it's not consistent. Oh yeah, by the way, you can see my new graphing variation of the power meter. So I'll go up and you'll think, okay, yeah, it looks like it's kind of doing the booting. It should shoot up to 3,400. There we go. See, it's going 3,400, and somewhere along the line it craps its pants, goes back to 30, and restarts again. Tony, I appreciate you haven't had a look for me. Yeah, so this one's holding pretty steady right now, but it'll crap out soon enough. I hope. But that essentially is the issue, is in that it's intermittently doing. There we go. Yeah. So it has this spike where it jumps up to 200 for a little bit, and then it drops out, and it starts the process again. Now, how long it takes before it does that drop out is indeterminate. Sometimes it can last half an hour, sometimes it's 30 seconds. So yeah. Anyway, so that's not the Tim stuff that I'm talking about. But what I was going to do is I wanted to sort of check the sequences when it's not working. And Tim did the hard work of... I'm just going to move that up there. At least I'm pretty sure it was his model. $15.21, yep. Alright, so this is the 1521 board, and what I've done is, over on the side here, Tim Herman went through and created the whole sequence of what rails you need on what chips and stuff like that, and to go through, and yeah, the particular... I might just increase the font size for that, although it does wreck the layout. Let's see... But yeah, anyway, so yeah, Tim's gone through and he's done this whole sequence for this board, and most of the other boards should be fairly similar as well. The nice thing is that normally when we do board sequence checkings, out of old habits and all that, we have a tendency to go to the aliases page, but it's actually not correct for this, because the aliases page is actually just aliases. Let's see. Yeah, so like you got power aliases, but not every rail is actually on the alias page. A lot of them are, but not every rail, and it's not always in sequence, whereas if you actually have the proper starting sequence here, then you can just follow that through. So, you know, do you have that, then go to that, and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, Tim's doing this work. It's really good stuff. It's very handy, and it's nice because you can just sort of go back to basics and, you know, pick your way through why your board might not be working. Let's see, let's go back to above. But in my particular case here, unfortunately, I've got something that's causing it to restart, and I don't know what it is yet. Informatics, no, I've walked away from that HP, I'm sorry. And like I said, it will boot fine, but then if you twist the board or something like that, it will stop booting. So it's kind of like, it feels very much more like a mechanical issue as opposed to a BIOS issue. Yeah, I know the HP description's still up. I guess I haven't really jumped into this one yet. It was more just meant to show off what I was doing with Tim. I did attribute Tim in that setup too, and that's open. That's on open board data. It's not limited to my software. You know, if someone wants to write a tool that uses it for something else, that's great. That's what it's there for. Let's see. So yeah, you can see the same pattern keeps repeating, but various sort of times. So I don't actually know what's going on with it. It kind of feels like maybe it's a current sense issue, but it's one of those things where you just can't nail it down. There's no hotspot building up on it. I have had it on the thermal camera, and yeah, nothing specific coming up. If I had to try and blame something, yeah, my first inclination might be the ISL. But that's, you know, that's a pretty long shot in my opinion. What is interesting is it almost always does it as it's transitioning to something else. Like it does that 200 milliamp jump and then it craps out. So it's like there's some thing that it's trying to fire up that's dud. But I have no idea what it is. I just, yeah, having a bit of junk under there is not helping either. Well, Miles, I was sort of thinking maybe there was a bit of signaling, yeah, because the ISL is doing the current sensing. So if at some reason it decides that too much current has been drawn and it gives up, so obviously not on the battery side of it, but on the PP bus generation side. Because we don't lose 20 volts, we just have it that it shuts it down to 30 milliamps again, so it starts once again. Let's see, I'm just going to take that connector off just in case. Although it'd be very unlikely to be that, based on the fact that it's not even connected to anything, so it shouldn't be influencing anything. But, you know, stranger things have happened. And the other, it never comes off the 20 volts. It always does at least stay at 20 volts. And the whole 170 sort of era, that's it sort of going around and preparing to boot. And it starts there. See, it sort of disconnected. This section here, it starts going up and then it just gives up. I need to write the software so that as I hover over the point it will, or maybe kind of like with a VU meter, you can have your peak indicators on the side here. I should write that. So yeah, it's trying to get started and then it just, you know, but the thing is sometimes it will get started and it definitely charges okay too. Like if I put it on with the battery, it will charge fine, but it will not run off the battery any better. So it's not a USB-C feed issue, it's there's something else. Kind of feels like maybe it's a cracked inductor. You know, sometimes when you get cracked inductors, they work okay up to a certain current, and then they, because of the crack, they saturate or they just can't deliver enough energy. The fact that it's the whole board that shuts down, I doubt it's the CPU inductor. I'd say it's probably something else. Oh yeah, I removed the backlight driver because I thought that might be at fault, because we do have a little bit of corrosion around here from liquid damage just on the backlight chips. But with that eliminated, if it was the backlight chips causing issues, then yeah, that should have fixed it. That's not corrosion there, that's just a piece of crap on the side. I might with the backlight controller gone, it shouldn't do anything. Sorry, yes, you're right, creature. inhibits the saturation. Lots of fun trying to talk and fly at the same time. Let's see, what do I want to remove? I'll remove F8400. Let's see if that changes anything. I doubt it, but F8400 is this P-level fuse here. Yes, makes the inductance plummet. So we get that on iPhones occasionally, where you just can't seem to get maximum brightness, and you change the caps, you change the diode, you do all that sort of stuff, you change the driver, and it still doesn't fix the problem. And it turns out it's just a crack in the inductor. I'll be very surprised if this is causing it, because the screen's not connected, which means the machine knows that there's no point firing up that section. But we'll see. Trying really hard not to make that thing go crack. Absolute pain in the backside when you've got to replace those caps. I thought I'm hearing noises that I don't like. Normally I like to stay around wherever there was the liquid damage. If there's nothing else apparently wrong with the board, then it would make sense that wherever the liquid damage is most likely where the fault's going to be. But no, I really haven't found anything in this area or here that explicitly sort of explains the issue. I did check under the CPU, under the socket here, heatsink I mean, and nothing there. Steve, the thing is, it was doing it before I replaced it, but you know, it's possible. We'll put it back on. We'll just see how it behaves now that I've taken the fuse away as well. I mean, yeah, maybe in the SMC type code or the T2 code, it says if you can't find the backlight driver, then give up. I don't know, maybe it's possible. That's actually a sensible suggestion. CPU resistance is fine now. Like I said, it will occasionally boot up to a recovery bar graph sort of thing. Alright, so here we go again. So yeah, it does that initial 3,400 and settles down to this 170, 180 business. And then it sort of goes for it again. Come on, any second now. Yep. And down it goes. I'm going to put it back into the chassis just to check, but I'm pretty sure that, yeah, with the battery and things like that. Oh, come on now. Oof, that hurts. The lamb, that's probably a no... Oh, crikey, mate. That's probably a no stuff. Certainly no shortage of no stuffs on these boards. I'll have a look, but yeah, I'd say 99% likely that it's just a no stuff situation. So yes, we do not have a display connected on this, but we are still able to boot. What we're checking here is, oh, for goodness sake, we're checking to see if Paul knows how to put certain shapes into certain shapes, but it seems like he's utterly incompetent and has no idea what he's doing. Dear God. This is what it's like to feel like Lewis Rossman. Alright. I'm just jealous of Lewis. He's got himself a Tesla. And I do not. I find that very annoying. It's like, how dare he be apparently more successful than me with his car purchases, ignoring all other things. Just in case it pops up. You gotta realise out here, having a car is a pretty important thing. Okay, so you can see the charge current is being applied there. But again, drops right out. I'd gladly take a Tesla still. Around here would be a good match with what I'm doing. 400, 500 kilometer range. That gets me to Townsville and back, no trouble. So you can see how it's, yeah, it's just sort of doing this whole up-down crap. It's interesting that it's inhibiting the battery charge as well. You know, it goes back to no battery charge and then takes it back up again. The reason why I'd be going for a Tesla as opposed to some of the other options, the only other one I may consider is the Iconic, but primarily it's support network. It's a bit like why use, why did I get a Ford Falcon BA when there are better cars that I could have picked, and it's just because the ubiquitous of those choices. It's like having an iPhone. No matter where you go, someone's going to be around that can do something with that and things like that. I'm done with having what you might consider unique choices or whatever. I'm sick of having gear or equipment that may be the better choice on technical grounds, but ends up being the inferior choice on just trying to get anything damn well done with it. Yeah, Miles, that's what I'm thinking. It's just, that's why I was thinking ISL maybe. It's just weird. But the ISL, if I check those current sense resistors, they're fine. You know what? I might just replace that ISL. What if it's perhaps slightly faulty or something? I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'll replace an ISL. It just, yeah, you know, I don't like doing that sort of thing. Replacing bits just because of replacing bits. Just get a Toyota pickup. Yeah, it's not an electric. I've already got a pickup anyway. I've got a 1.5 ton dual cab pickup. Ford Actually, I better put the backlight. I'd better put a new backlight driver there. Ford Courier I've got, 4x4 diesel. I don't use it very much though. Now, I'm not waiting for the tip to heat up. That's it. And of course the other thing is I've got solar, so it'd be nice to actually use the solar for me rather than feeding it back to the network. Is that resistor no stuff? You're talking about this big chunker here? That's probably a capacitor, and yeah, it's a no stuff. Or you're talking about this one here? It's probably a no stuff too. Well, we can actually have a look and check that. It's actually a capacitor, so yeah, it's probably a no stuff. There we go, no stuff. It's very, very, very rare to have parts knocked off or missing without it being blatantly obvious that they're knocked off or missing. The error could come from the battery. It could, but I've tried it in a known working chassis and unfortunately, yeah, that works, does the same thing. Okay, I've got to get one of these backlight drivers. That hurt. Pretty sure it's the same backlight driver pretty much on all of them. Yeah, except that one's not a good one to use. That must be Jason's. Yes, it is. Unofficial Mac Jason's donor boards. Yeah. Yuck. Yucky, yucky, yuck. To be fair, he did not give that to me as a donor board. So, if he ever does offer donor boards, I'm sure they're probably fine. That one's corroded too. Bloody hell. I'm just making fun for the sake of making fun. Oh great, that one doesn't even have it. Jeez. Alrighty, this should be it. Oh, Miles, the one I'm thinking, oh great, carpet fibers. I'm looking at just getting the 60,000 one. Standard range, standard everything. None of the fancy bling bling. The only trouble is, like, I've got to put down $350 to get my name in the queue, which is fine, I don't have a problem with that. But I won't know until, say, February to May next year. And the trouble is, I don't know if I'm just worried that maybe my financial situation will change. If the property next to me comes up for sale, I'll probably rather go with that than investing in a car. My wife might also kill me. So, you know, if I die, then I'll probably make the bad choice there. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do need a new car. Oh god, I didn't put enough solder in the center pad. Hopefully it's aligned alright. Creature, that was not a no stuff chip. I took that chip off before. Jeez, I love it how people think that I'm doing something dumb rather than thinking maybe I have a reason. Good on you, Creature. That, what is that, 20 years of knowing you and that's how you treat me? I'm hurt. Tell you what, Miles, if they can bring a BMW that does close to the same, I'd be interested. I do miss my BMWs. I better clean up a couple of these balls. It's not likely to cause trouble, but it'd be just my luck that I'll have two balls touching and then terrible things will happen. Hey James Ewing, good morning. Okay, what next? I think that's everything. I've got the backlight driver back on, I've got the... yeah, that's all that mattered. Fuse is back on. Really hoping maybe it was just a dodgy backlight driver. That would be nice if it was. I'm just running the air cooler again so that the board will get cooled down. The i4 looks... I saw the i4, yeah. Miles, I think it depends on what model you get, like with most things. I mean, I had a 3 Series 320. I was very happy with that. Never had any problems with it. Okay, I mean, the biggest issue I had with that car was the fact that the service light would come on well before I was ready to take it back for service. When I mean the service light, I mean it was the scheduled periodic type service. You'd have this block of 5 bars on your console, and as you drove around, of course, they would slowly reduce until you're left with one red bar. And then you had to go take it in for service. There was usually nothing wrong with the car, but you know, it was all scheduled and so on and so forth. And of course it cost a pretty penny. Even though it is a fixed price service system. Yeah, it's like you know what you're going to have to be paying before you go in. It doesn't matter, it was still expensive. But yeah, it was a nice car, very nice car. I do miss it dearly. And ever since I've driven that, it's been difficult to enjoy driving. Driving is very much a drudgery at the best of times. But the BMW did a nice job of making it tolerable. Of course, it probably helped that I was living in South Africa at the time and I could do some ridiculous speeds. Just add water for fuel. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Have you been watching my Facebook posts? These people going on about the people who invented the water engine that could run just off water. They released that information and they got killed by the CIA the next day. It's like, oh, wow. The only reason we don't know about this is the CIA are hiding on the other side of the flat earth. It's, yeah, okay. I will entertain some sort of conspiracy type theories, but some of them are just too far for me to stretch. I'm not that nimble anymore. I mean, you can run them off water if you have them like a pneumatic system, air pressure system, driving the water. There are ways you can do it, but not in the way that they're proposing. Ah, damn it, there it goes. Yep, back down to 30. Or if you have something for the... Yeah. Let's just throw some potassium in there, or just throw mixture of sodium, drop sodium pellets into the water. That's probably the easier way. So that's the other thing is with a lot of these conspiracy theories, is that there are already existing methods that you could do what they're proposing that are well known, but just simply not practical. Yes, water injection to high performance engines, very well known thing. Inhibits pre-detonation, keeps cool and all that sort of stuff. I mean, they use that at wartime to give you an extra boost in the aeroplane engines. But yeah, and like the thing of like free energy, getting free energy from radio waves, and that, I mean, that's well known, but it's just not feasible. But if you want more free energy and you pay up front, you can always get solar panels or wind turbines. See you, user. Wouldn't you bend the shit out of the pistons? Only if your compression ratio, or I should say, if your combustion chamber space is less than the amount of water you need. Because you never fully go up to top dead. When they say top dead center, it's not really actually at the top of the chamber. There's always some sort of area in there. Otherwise, compression ratio would be bonkers high. You have a kilometre of power lines crossing your property and a long wire ground, you're getting really high power. You could, yep, you could pick up some nice inductive power there. Yeah, it seems like we've got the same crap. And so, as you can see, it does spin up the fan, and every now and then it will actually give you a display. But, yeah, this one's got me stumped. Oh, that's right, I was going to change the ISL. God damn you people. Why don't you people remind me of anything? I'm kind of curious, creature, to see how many more high voltage DC lines get installed as we move on forward. Like, I know there's now a few superconducting runs, which is quite impressive, but they're not very long. But yeah, like 500,000, 1 million volt DC runs. They're impressive things. Imagine if it goes bang though. I mean, just the step up and step down thyristors that they use for those things is crazy. Scary stuff. It really looks like Frankenstein's laboratory in those step up, step down buildings. 3X, I really hope it's not T2. The fact that it does come up periodically, it may not be T2. Like I said, I'm genuinely hoping it's not. The ISL, of course, is the least risk situation for me to replace, so we're going to go for that. I'm covering these caps because of their love of going pop. I do not like my capacitors going pop. Miles, in this case we've got the T2, so there's no SMC as such. Yeah, so I don't know. It's either a current trigger or it's a thermal trigger, but I have a suspicion it's a current trigger or something related to it. Either that or there is a short circuit on one of the rails, and as soon as that rail tries to come up, it gets knocked off. But the trouble is, like I said, every now and then it will come up good. I was kind of hoping I'd see some corrosion under there, but no such luck. I saw that Phil from shit. Why can't I remember Phil's YouTube? The Coder, yeah. I saw him trying to do some hot air wicking the other day. I don't know what went wrong. It seemed like he wasn't happy with the results. Yeah, so we'll do some hot air wicking here and hopefully have better results. I will put down some leaded solder first. Now some people just do that, they knock off all the excess bumps with some leaded solder, and it does work pretty good most of the time. The only trouble is with these particular chips, they can get a little bit sensitive if there's a few too many bumps in the wrong places and they won't sit down properly. Ow. Oh, flip's sake. As I don't believe in having to shield everything, but like I said, these dirty little tantalum cap type things, they really suck for just blowing up. Now when I say they blow up, they don't really like blow out badly, but what will happen is you'll just hear a little crack, and then there'll be this hairline crack running around the side of them. Hey Ian, I don't know about PG-13, or you being sarcastic? Because I've been swearing a bit. Where am I? Okay, so pin 1's up here. Oh, right, okay, Ian. Well, you missed the swearing earlier. I suppose flip is fairly reserved. It's kind of more in the realm of what Moss would say from IT Crowd. You mother flipper. Yeah. I do very much like IT Crowd. The UK version, obviously, not the one episode US version. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Turn the air down a bit so we don't blow it completely across the board. And yes, I have tried turning off and on again. So now the trouble I have here is I can't tell if that bastard is reflowed or not. It's definitely tacked itself down, but has it reflowed? I have my doubts. Yeah, I can see the... There we go, now it's reflowed. Almost. Kind of feels a bit skew, to be honest. Hey horse, hey Warren. For some reason they always sit a bit skew for my liking. Just a smidge. Yeah, it's definitely not a skipped a whole row sort of thing, but it just always feels ever so slightly not quite right. Maybe I'm just too pedantic. Oh well, into the cooler. Wait for it to cool off. Oh crikey, it's past midnight. Okay, we'll have to wrap it up. We'll wait for it to cool and then we'll take it out, give it a test, but yeah. Double check you haven't got A1, A2 bridged. Let's see. I don't know what A1 is, but I've never... Gate Q4. A2 is VDD. Well, the easiest way to tell that is to measure... Okay. The diode modes are very different between them. So like 0.67 versus 0.44. So that's the easiest way we can tell. If they're the same, that's bad news. Aspie. Can't say I've had diodes pop on me in general from thermal attack. So diode mode. Already in diode mode. Okay, so this one here. Good on your pole, just scratch the top of it. 0.43, so that's looking pretty good. Now the trick though is that this one here, let's see, where do you... Goes off to the MOSFET. Where are you, you bastard? Large inductor resistor, MOSFET. Oh, here we go, yep. Okay, so it's that one there. Just that. And that's 0.69, so yeah, they're definitely not shorted. It's just unfortunate we can't test them. There was no place. Just throw the board around, Paul. Why not? Yeah. That's one way to fix it. Fonzie style. There was no way to test those two pins on the same side of the board, because that second pin doesn't show up anywhere except underneath the BGA itself, which we can't really snake a probe under there, at least not with the technology that I have here. would be nice if you had some sort of like nanobot that carried a little testing point underneath the BGA for you. Maybe some sort of virtual reality thing that you like walk along, get under that BGA, stab the ball. That'd be awesome. But then of course the fun thing will be diagnosing the electronics that you use to make that virtual reality robot. Then you have to create an even smaller one until you get down to the quantum scale, the Planck scale. Okay, let's see how this goes. So hopefully it doesn't go bang. Oh, pardon me, that was a bit loud. I'm losing control of myself. Okay, well, no big bangs yet. Well, we are under 20 volts, so that's good. It actually looks better already. Could be wrong. It may drop out. But it... Ah, there it goes. God damn it. Alright, so it's not the ASL. What the hell is it? Yeah, I don't know whether it's... Yeah, current sense... Creature, I don't think anything's actually getting hot. That's the thing. I don't think it's legitimately getting hot. I think what it is that there's a sense issue, as in one of the sense lines isn't right, or one of the yeah, it's just it. I don't think it's legitimately a short or anything like that. I think it's something else. It doesn't have the feel of a short. It sort of does, but I don't think it is. I think it's... yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's either an inductor with a crack in it, or a cap that's only performing at half capacity. It's the sort of thing that you really need to use the little probe system that I've got, and you can just monitor some of the lines while it's running. Does the PMIC have any currents? The PMIC certainly would have a lot in them. Let's see, we'll just bring it down. I mean, the PMIC is just a monster of a thing. But I think they're all mostly internal. Oh, here we go. These are probably no stuffs though. So VDD main. So what is that, right next to the ASL? Yeah, that's a no stuff. I can just see because I can see the pads. Yeah, a lot of the time they don't put these in. They just short that straight through, and they're like, "We don't care. We don't care. You just carry on with that." What is that? Let's bar the Wi-Fi. Again, no stuff. Could be stuff like this. Where do you go off to? Yeah, back to the PMIC. So certainly the PMIC could be involved in the situation. I'm not saying the PMIC would be faulty, but it could be involved in the situation. Bad temperature sensor, yeah, things like that. It's the only trouble when you have a very heavily sensor laden board, is that sometimes your sensors need to have sensors on them to detect if they're not behaving correctly. And again, we keep coming back to the fact that the only corrosion we had was around this area here, which in turn, of course, is this area here. So that will be the blocking diode, yep, for that. So it doesn't really come into play. I'm kind of looking for something around here that isn't related to backlight, but could have been affected by keyboard backlight, I2C backlight, 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 backlight. So it's all backlight there. Backlight. Backlight. Yeah, so this is all backlight stuff, so it's very hard to, blame the corrosion. And this here, there's a shield that goes all around here, and there's no indication. It would be a tremendous flood of liquid to get even close to this U2300, and it's the RAM, so it's again not likely to be at fault. So yeah, it's hard to say whether we've got a genuine issue or whether we've got a bad sensor issue at play. Hey, Circuit Monkey. And unfortunately, with the nature of these things, they don't really have a sensor test program, because they won't come up, because they're going, no, something's wrong with the sensors. Or rather, something's wrong with the board, because the sensors tell us. And like I said, there is the intermittent nature of it. Now, one thing I could try is put it through the wash, which, I am somewhat disinclined to do, simply because if there is going to be a hint on here, I will lose that hint when I wash it. That said, I haven't seen a hint. And okay, there's a bit of junk there on that battery terminal, but again, it's not going to be influencing that. And again, of course, it happens even when we don't have the battery installed, so yeah, it's definitely got me. I hate these sort of things. It's frustrating too, because these boards are not big boards in terms of part count or anything like that. They're comparatively simple. It's all just Thunderbolt stuff. The fact that 20 volts works perfectly fine rules out that for me. This is of course the dreaded T2. And I certainly can't see anything on any of the PMIC balls. It doesn't get to the same spot every time, no. It'll like sort of sometimes get going up to the progress bar and then it'll die. But most of the time it dies just trying to get started. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times I've tried it. So I was sort of disinclined to think it's a thermal related fault. Yeah, there's a bit of like random bits of junk, dust and stuff like that, but very unlikely to consider that to be the fault. And yeah, this whole 20 volt section, that's all working great. Sometimes the speakers can cause hell. So that's just a fake short. No. God damn son of a bastard of a thing. It's very frustrating because, like I said, you want to. It's not a, like I said, it's not a complicated board. I mean, yeah, okay, it looks like it's got a lot of parts on it, but overall, it's a pretty simple board. You compare it to, say, something like an A20 1700, and you can come back and complain to me about this being a complicated board. That's supposed to be that noise. Yeah, 2.4 for that one. It'll be the same for that too. No, I'm stumped. It could be these chips here, but this is not the model that the GAY chip has the issue with, and the symptoms aren't the same. With the model that has the problems with that GAY chip, it will sit there at about 200 milliamps and do nothing. Once again, I think I'm going to have to walk away from this yet again. Very frustrating. This is where that RAM chip is. As you see, that there is where the corner of the RAM chip is, and the liquid damager head came up under here. So it'd be one hell of a fluke to have it go under there. Yeah, fuse is fine. Yeah, well, that's it. I'm done for tonight. Bloody hell. Useless night. Another couple of hours wasted of my life getting nowhere. Creature, that green you saw was actually a reflection, I'm pretty sure. Because I saw it as well. I saw that slight tinge of bluey green, but I turned it a little more and it, yeah, it just was a reflection. But I straight away saw that as well, yeah. It was good spotting of you to see that. Because I didn't think anyone else would notice it. Yeah. Alright, that's it. We're done. Sorry folks, wasn't a good win tonight. That's the way it goes. I'll catch you all next time. Until then, you take care.